Did you know that things like race, nationality, gender identity, romantic preference, and religious and political beliefs actually change how much your opinion matters? Sound backwards? This is actually how young adults and teens are being taught how to think. Today, we're going to be talking about intersectionality and why it's so dangerous for society. Hey friends, and welcome back to another episode of Called and Unqualified, a Create, Worship, Inspire video series. My name is Brenna, and I'm not qualified to be a political or psychological expert of any kind, but I have been exposed to this toxic idea of intersectionality, especially on my college campus. If you've never heard this term intersectionality, you're definitely not alone, but it probably means that it's been a while since you've been in a mostly left-leaning political environment. So the actual definition of intersectionality is the theoretical framework for understanding how aspects of a person's social and political identities might combine to create unique modes of discrimination and privilege. In simpler terms, intersectionality identifies all of the groups that each individual belongs to, and this is used to determine how much discrimination or disadvantage each individual has in life. Others will even argue that intersectionality is just to see the beauty about how all of your identities intersect to create a unique you. However, this isn't exactly how it was presented to me. I was first exposed to intersectionality when it was brand new, and it was while I was working as a resident assistant at my university, and this was just about a year ago. The directors and coordinators of this department at my university claimed that this exercise would not only help us identify our own identities, but see how we're unique, and even though we're different from other people, we can see that we all generally have something in common. But here's actually what intersectionality does. On the worksheet, you're supposed to list things like your race, your nationality, the sex you were born, your gender identity, your romantic preference and attraction, your religious or political affiliations, socioeconomic status, or any mental or physical abilities or disabilities that you have. Then you're asked to list the categories and things that you think about the most, things that you don't really think about that often, and things that you feel like society focuses more on when it comes to your identity. And this is where it really starts to get messy. When we shared answers, my coworkers actually got to see things about me that they didn't know before that they didn't necessarily like, and I think that this kind of impacted the way that we related to each other. We'd already been friends and they knew my heart and my values, but maybe things like politics or some of my abilities they weren't really aware of before. And what I found is traditionally an individual is going to put more emphasis on their parts of their identity that seem to be more oppressed, because in university campuses, this is what we encourage to thrive. Because guess what? Even I realized that I fit into this pattern. Because here's what they're really looking for. Race. Are you white or are you non-white? Nationality. Were you a US citizen at birth or were you born outside of the United States? Were you born male or female? Gender. Do you identify with the gender that you were born? Attraction. Are you heterosexual or are you something else? Socioeconomic status. Are you wealthy or did you ever struggle? Political affiliation. Republican or Democrat? Religion. Christian or other? Mental and physical ability. Are you impaired in any way? The way that you answer each question symbolically adds a point to this scale. Are you more oppressed or are you more privileged? If you're not white, oppressed. If you weren't born in the US, oppressed. Not born as a man, oppressed. If your gender identity has ever changed, oppressed. If you're anything but straight or heterosexual, oppressed. If you lived in poverty or paycheck to paycheck, oppressed. If you identify as anything other than Republican, oppressed. If you identify with any other faith other than Christianity, oppressed. If you have any kind of mental or physical impairment, oppressed. For every point that you score for oppression, your voice gets amplified. And for every point that you score in privilege, your voice gets silenced. Because when you know all about each other, this is how people know how much your voice they should pay attention to. But there's a problem. Because you may first meet me and learn that I'm a white, heterosexual Christian who was born in the United States who's never questioned my gender identity, and I just happen to have right-leaning opinions when it comes to politics. Based on some people's view of my identity, I should actually be silenced. But what if I told you that I'm actually a young woman who, during my first job at a high school, was hired in the same week as another male coworker, and I received less pay than he did for doing a much better job? What if I told you that based on my gender, I've actually been in abusive relationships, and this crosses over into mental impairment? What if I told you that during my childhood, we actually had to eat out of a food bank for a couple months, and that I've lived with mental and physical impairments for my entire life? Well, now you think my voice should be amplified because actually I have been oppressed. But what was the problem? The first things that made me seem privileged actually were easier to judge. The things that seemed to be reasons to make my voice louder, I needed to tell you. Intersectionality tells individuals that their identity is what gives them power. But the parts of their identity that they feel like give them reason to be heard are the parts of them that actually seem to be historically oppressed. But my identity is not the ways that I have been mistreated. You have more value than to define yourself by the things that you think are broken and mistreated. This creates a victim mentality. Intersectionality tells you to be proud of who you are, especially the parts of your identity that weave together to make you an oppressed individual, because these are reasons where you get to be uplifted. So the more oppressed you are, the more power you have. No, because in reality, victim mentality doesn't give you power, it takes the power away. Victim mentality is so attractive to young people because we don't want to be self-sufficient. Anything that we can pass off as a reason for society to take care of us and do all the work for us, we're just gonna do that instead. Because our parents were so gracious in giving us love, attention, and providing for us so well growing up, we grew up to believe that we didn't really need to be independent and self-sufficient, but we also can't think for ourselves. And this is also why young people think it's the government's job to take care of them. It's because we just grew up in an environment where everything was kind of handed to us. So when you dwell in this place of self-pity, you're not empowered and you're actually surrendering your power. You're trying to trick your own mind into giving yourself reasons to accept or demand free handouts. And this doesn't and shouldn't make you feel empowered, because victim mentality tries to free individuals from their own personal responsibility of doing things in life on their own and for themselves. But this isn't how reality works. We as individuals need to take responsibility for our own lives and choices, and society doesn't bear the job or responsibility to pave a way for us all to succeed. Additionally, intersectionality doesn't get rid of oppression, it just turns the tables. For example, being a white man, that's 2 points for privilege. So in modern day, a white man would actually not be extended as many opportunities for success or advantages because he is white and a man. He's denied things because of his race and gender. Isn't that exactly what happened to non-white, non-males? Because I thought people's value wasn't determined by gender or race. But some people are trying to justify that it's fair to hurt people that aren't you and haven't directly hurt you in any way other than just existing. A racist and sexist individual of any race or gender should not be rewarded for these racist and sexist behaviors. Because this white man's identity, he isn't only self-identified, he's being judged, identified, and mistreated by the society that has put him in these boxes. And I have actually experienced this to a very small degree. I've been considered to be the majority when it comes to race, politics, and faith. But I'm here to actually tell you that most of the time this isn't true. If anything, my voice and opinion actually feel oppressed because of things like this, especially in my university classrooms. I either use self-censorship or I lose credibility when people figure out things about me that they didn't know before. First, I've actually been told by not one, but two guys. I've been told by 2 boys that they didn't like the fact that I was white. One of them was from another white dude. The other guy, who happened to be a Christian, but he also wasn't white, actually told me that one of the biggest reasons that he didn't want to be in a relationship was because I was white. Please, forget about my personality, my heart, desires, calling, faith, anything else that really matters. Let me tell you how I have to put on something called sunscreen to go outside. Also, I kind of mentioned my political opinions already, and if you're not new to this channel, you're kind of familiar that I have some right-leaning opinions, and these don't really match with my age. Especially in my university classrooms, I feel like I have to censor myself so I don't out myself as a conservative. But I also don't want to lie and support something that I don't believe in either. So this same idea of not wanting to give in or compromise has put me in some pretty uncomfortable situations when it comes to work and learning in the classroom. It's been happening more and more. Workplaces are actually censoring speech and requiring employees to participate in things that they don't really believe in. Unless, of course, you agree with everything. I could actually count for you how many times in the classroom and for work training I've been asked to meditate, even with a Buddhist priest. And I chose not to. In some of my classes, I've actually been asked to metaphorically or explicitly leave my faith at the door. But I can't leave things like my gender at the door. That leftist student didn't have to leave his religious beliefs at the door. So why am I being silenced or oppressed for things about myself that I was told I had the right to choose? But here is the real problem with intersectionality. It ruins the beauty of diversity. Diversity is actually just defined as a large variation of differences. And if you're anything like me, you love diversity. I grew up in California, so I've always lived in communities where people are vastly different from me. So now I'm actually more comfortable in an environment where I hear a bunch of different languages, cultures, styles, and even beliefs. The problem with intersectionality is it takes away the beauty of real diversity. With the exception of things like religion and politics, the things that intersectionality measures actually aren't considered to be a choice. There's a group of people that would argue that changing your gender isn't actually a choice, but I personally believe that if you change your gender to anything other than what you were born as, it's pretty much a choice. In contrast, some people would even argue that religion isn't a choice. I personally believe that I chose my faith because of its truth. No one actually forced it on me. But this isn't exactly the same belief cross-culturally. Some cultures actually believe that religion is inherited from your family, so you can't really change it. So why are we judging people and assigning them value off of identities that they can't change? It's not empowering because it assigns people labels for identities that are outside of their control. And then they're actually silenced or amplified based on the value that society awards them for level of oppression. When we put emphasis on these things, we actually lose what makes diversity beautiful. Things like diversity of thought, skills, talents, dreams, goals, callings, and purpose. And I'm in no way telling you that these intersectional parts of your identity don't matter, but I'm just saying that we need to learn to look past these things that are labeled and actually see the person for who they are inside. A wealthy, straight white man actually might have a heart of gold because there's a lot of them. But why should we silence him based off of things outside of his control? Why are we judging him because of the history that he didn't determine? Isn't that exactly the kind of discrimination that we wanted to bring to an end? Turning the tables on discrimination and oppression doesn't kill it, it actually just helps it thrive and live longer. It doesn't help unite us as a people, it divides us into groups. So if you want to be intersectional, why can't you be intersectional in listening to someone's experience who's vastly different from you, other than giving their voice value based off of the things that you feel like are privileged or oppressed? Why don't we turn the tables on this practice and actually spend time listening to people who are different from us? Let's amplify everyone's voices. Instead of leaning into the victim mentality, let's admit that we've all lived through varying degrees of hardship, and let's support each other when we're going through difficult times, like right now. Life hasn't been easy for everyone, but that just means that if you feel pain, it doesn't cancel out someone else's pain. Strength looks different for all of us because we all have a different story. I am in no way asking you to abandon your spiritual or political beliefs because I don't think that that's wise or even going to create a better society. Instead, I'm asking you to have conversations with people who are different from you so you can understand how they view the world. And if you listen with grace and patience, they're probably going to listen to you with the same amount of respect. Because it goes both ways. So let's be intersectional with listening to each other, rather than using it to redirect discrimination. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. You can find all of these episodes and episodes of our podcast on createworshipinspire.com, along with the link to our Patreon page. And merch is now available for pre-order, so go over to createworshipinspire.com to check out some really cool stuff. Please leave a comment down below if you have suggestions for any future videos. Also, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share with a friend if you haven't already. And if you want more CWI updates, please be sure to follow our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. See you next time! Alright, so I just want to remind you guys that this episode and this channel are sponsored by success@daytrading.com. Go check them out. Looking for a quick, flexible way to supplement or replace income? Even if you're just starting out or looking to improve your day trading skills, success@daytrading.com offers education, coaching, and software to help you reach your financial goals. No prior experience is required and no need to risk your own money. We'll train you to trade our money. Visit success@daytrading.com.